Amazing grace, how sweet.
You're looking at the memorial service for George Floyd, who died when a police officer held his knee to his neck for more than 8 minutes. There was a moment of silence during that memorial service. In Minneapolis, there are lots of things happening in Minneapolis right now. Talks of dismantling the police. We want to talk about the memorial service, Reverend Al Sharpton, some of his comments about Prime Minister Trudeau as well. So let's bring in CNN's Camilla Burnell in Minneapolis. Camilla, thank you very much for joining us. I know there is a massive delay right now. We'll just ask you, talk a little bit about the memorial service, the feelings, the emotion that came out of that.
Well, look, Roger, we're going into the 11th day of protest here in the United States, and here in Minneapolis, we're really starting to get to know who George Floyd, the man, was. So during that memorial, we got a glimpse of who he was with his family, with his friends. We learned that he liked to eat those sandwiches with bananas and mayo, that he liked to play football, that he was that kind of person that everybody wanted to hug, that when you were in a room with him, he made you feel like you were the president. He gave you all the attention. And so many details that we're hearing from the family and from the friends who, of course, are hurting. And we saw that during that memorial, specifically during those 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence. That was, of course, very moving, because that amount of time being silent, of course, and focusing on one thing makes you realize how long it was that George Floyd was on the ground with a knee to his neck. And so as we move on to the next couple of days, it becomes about the legacy and who he was as a person, and a person who has now motivated hundreds and thousands of people to come out and protest, not just here in Minneapolis, but around the world. And so moving forward, the family wants this to be a time to remember him and to really jump into action. That was another theme of this memorial service, asking people to continue to get involved, to get in politics, to change the law, because, of course, their message is that this is not right and this should not happen again.
One of the things that we've heard now, they are talking about in Minneapolis dismantling the police force in the wake of this horrific situation. What is the latest on that, and what exactly would that mean?
Well, look, there are a lot of demands from the protesters. That one seems to be a little bit unrealistic. The police force is not going anywhere, but the police force is essentially something handled by the city. And so a lot of the people in the city, and even city leaders, saying that they need to look at the practices and what happens between police officers and the black community and any other community of color. They want to look into the laws, into the procedures, into what these officers are being taught and what they're doing out in the streets, specifically because of this incident involved 4 of these officers. And we're learning more about what was going on in terms of who these officers were. We know that one of them was only on the job for about 4 days. The other one was his 3rd shift on the job. And so Derek Chauvin, the officer who had the knee to Floyd's neck, he was actually supervising and essentially teaching one of these officers, one of these rookie officers. And so these are the kinds of details that they want to know and figure out as to how that can change, and moving forward, what the police relations with the community are going to be. And the district attorney saying that needs work, not just in the city, but in the state.
Camilla, thank you very much for the update from Minneapolis. We appreciate that. Take care. Thank you. That was Camilla Burnell, CNN's Camilla Burnell in Minneapolis, with the latest on the George Floyd, the memorial service, and also the latest regarding police in Minneapolis. We'll have more on Breakfast Television coming up after the break.